Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this webinar, Email Marketing More Than Just Newsletters. Ricky is my name, by the way, and I'm a digital business advisor at Business Station. Business Station delivers the federal government digital solutions program for small businesses, particularly in Queensland, Northern Territory, and Western Australia. Now, email marketing. Email marketing is the original digital marketing platform. In fact, it was first used for marketing purposes in the pre-web era. In fact, it was used originally by a previous employer of mine, Digital Equipment Corporation. But you'd think that in that time it might have become old and stale, but rather it's done the reverse. It's become a very sophisticated marketing tool that every business should be using. Now, as the name implies, the name of this webinar implies it can be used for far more than just sending newsletters, though. It does a lot of things nowadays, from automated welcome emails and confirmation emails through to, complete funnels, sales funnels, marketing funnels, lead funnels. Some of them include CRMs, for example. Some enable you to do landing pages and advertising and a lot more. So let's see what we're going to talk about today. So what I'm going to touch on firstly is why do it in the first place, and hopefully I'll convince you, a couple of good reasons why you should be doing email marketing. Then we'll briefly touch on the types of email marketing, what you need to get started, including building an email list, and how email marketing is great for doing personalized marketing direct to the user and at the product level if you're an e-commerce business, for example. We'll talk about automations, and then some emails that you might want to set up and send yourself, and then how you can measure your performance of your email marketing campaigns, and just some things you need to keep compliant. Okay, if you have any questions, by the way, just chuck it in the chat box of the Zoom function there, and I'll be happy to try and answer that for you. Also, at the end of this presentation, I have a link to some resources which include this presentation and some of the resources that I've built up over the time, mostly from third-party organizations that I've just found useful. Okay, so why do email marketing? Well, the best reasons is because it's going to provide the best return on your investment dollar in terms of your marketing investment dollar. So this quote comes from Forbes magazine, $42 US back on every dollar spent on email marketing. And it's far more effective in some ways than some of the social media channels you might be using. So HubSpot, 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined. Then when you take some statistics in mind as well, for example, 86% of professionals use email as their preferred communication channel. And if someone subscribes to your list, they're much more engaged, essentially. They're more likely to share content, like content, etc., etc. And also, if they're on your list, they're expecting and want to receive emails from you. So it's not like you need to be shy there and not, and be concerned about sending emails. They've subscribed to you for a reason. And the other stat, I guess, or main feature of email marketing is that it's owned by you. It's one of your owned marketing channels. It's always going to be there. It's going to get more sophisticated. And in times like we are in the next 2 years, for example, or more, where personalized marketing becomes more and more difficult because of, cookie being dropped by Google, for example, on Chrome browsers, and the pixel issues in terms of doing personalized marketing. So email marketing is building a very strong position in that digital marketplace. So let's look at the different types of email marketing you can do. So the first one, is the newsletter. So not to say that there's anything wrong with the newsletter, but it's not the only thing you can do with your email marketing. And there is definitely a place for a newsletter, but it's not essential, but it is useful. So, for example, it's something that you need to send on a regular basis, weekly or whatever, or monthly, whatever the case may be. And it should be a summary of some of your recent content, some of your updates, announcements, product announcements. But you can use it if you use the right content in your newsletters with calls to action and the like. You can generate leads and direct traffic back to your site. But it's also useful for after the sale, where you're maintaining relationships as well. So you're nurturing those relationships, building advocates, if you like, and loyal customers. And it's also an opportunity to nurture leads so that they haven't quite become your customer yet. So the second type is what you might have heard of before, which are transactional emails. These are very important to your business if you're, well, in all cases, but in particular if you do have transactions on your particular website, such as an e-commerce business or a booking organization, an organization that takes bookings, for example. So transactional emails would be things like confirmation emails, thank you emails, welcome emails. So they're an important trust builder, they're an important part of customer service. The third type of email would be lead nurturing. So lead nurturing is very targeted. It's usually part of a series of emails, a flow or an automation, if you like, and for a purpose usually to try and get to some sort of conversion, usually, but not always, but usually. And this lead nurturing flow, if you like, can be triggered based on some three criteria, essentially. What segment the user is in, we'll talk a little bit more about this. Something they've done, their behavior, or a time-based trigger. So we'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. And like I said before, it's usually highly targeted. So you're normally going to send an email like this, a lead nurturing email to a particular segment rather than your whole email list. And we'll talk a bit further about that as well. The fourth type of email would be informational emails. So things like, where you're telling people about new content or new products on your website, for example. It might be product updates. It could be an event that you're telling people about, or it could be a range of educational emails about your product and how to use it, for example, features, benefits. Okay, so they're the different types of email. So the reasons you should be doing email marketing and the types of email marketing you can do. Now let's talk about what you need to get started. So the first thing is an email service provider. So you need to choose a particular email service provider. I'll talk about some of these shortly. There's some of them on the list there that I'll talk about, plus others. So an email service provider is the first thing you need. The second thing you need is an email marketing list. So you need to be able to send people emails. You need to build an email marketing list. So the sooner you start this, the better, because it's all about building that list. The third thing you need to do is set some goals. And I'd argue that, at any given point, you're going to want to do multiples of these. So you'll have multiple campaigns running. And, it might sound complex, but these new email marketing platforms are very sophisticated and very user-friendly. You need your own email address that's related to your domain. So, this is not, using a Gmail address or a Big Pond address, for example. It's using your business domain name as your email address. Because once again, that builds trust. And also, you've got issues with spam, going into junk folders, all these sorts of things. But also people, as you know, the number one rule, if you get an email from, okay, it might be from a bank, but just check who it's from in the email address. And the same thing applies, even though it's not as, important as a bank email, it's still important that your domain is represented in your email address. Okay, so when you're choosing a provider, what you need to look for. So there's a bunch of different things, and it's going to depend on your different needs and requirements. But these are things I think are important. You need to be able to segment your email list. So rather than having a single email list, you need to be able to easily segment that list and hopefully have some segmentation tools, if you like, as part of that platform. Automations. Now, automations are called different things by different providers, journeys, flows, all sorts of things, but they're all automations. And this is about automating some of these emails for you, so you don't need to do them all. I mean, we've talked about a few here already, and we'll talk about a few more. But if you're a single operator or you're just limited in resources, you're best to use the automations, and they're very, very sophisticated. Third thing, the integration. So what platform are you using, and therefore what does it need to plug into? So I'd recommend that if you're using a certain e-commerce or website platform, that you should make sure that the email marketing platform that you're using integrates into that. Reviews, go and see, get some reviews. There's lots of reviews out there, and see what you think. Some other important things are the forms. All of these, you need to collect email addresses. So for example, and you might also want to provide a contact form as well. But so what sort of forms does the email marketing platform provide? Landing pages, is that important to you, or can you do that through your website? Calls to action, are they easy to do? What about templates that they use? Because you want to use the templates that the email provider offers, because they're professionally designed and they look great. You may as well use them rather than recreate the wheel or reinvent the wheel. So that's another important thing. Then little things like, do you need a CRM or not? Some people don't know what a CRM is. If that's the case, then maybe you don't need it. But a CRM is really about managing your clients and knowing what happened in the last call and follow-ups, previous call, what information you've sent to them, a whole range of different things. So it's really a contact management tool. And then finally, the analytics. So what does it tell you about your campaigns or not? So here's a sample of some of the ones. This is just a graphic I got off the internet. Some of the ones that I think are pretty good. Moose End, I haven't ever been to their site, so I can't comment on that, but I've heard some good things about it. My particular favorite at the moment is MailerLite. MailerLite is sort of the more sophisticated cousin of MailChimp. It offers a very good free plan if you're starting off, and it includes everything from day one, so you don't have to pay more to get extra features, essentially. So very, very good, and I'd recommend having a look at that. OmniSend, it's very good for e-commerce, but you might want to also have a look at that as well. So is MailerLite, by the way. Sendinblue has a little CRM attached to it, and it's quite a good free plan if you're just starting off. And then GetResponse and ActiveCampaign are sort of like the Rolls Royces of email marketing platforms. There are other ones. They do become quite expensive if your email list becomes large, but at the end of the day, it should just be an investment, because that email list, if it's large, you should be making a return on that. So we'll talk about some of the different providers shortly. Just want to show you this briefly. This is some of the free plans. So when do you have to start paying? So it's usually based on the subscriber limit. And so, for example, MailChimp, you don't have to pay anything until you get to 2,000 subscribers. MailerLite, it's 1,000. And then there's the monthly emails you can send for the free plan. So, I added Klaviyo down the bottom there. Klaviyo is one of my favorites. Not a very good free plan though, you're only limited to 250 subscribers, but it's really good if you use, say, Shopify, for example. So it really depends. I would have a look around at some of those and see what you think are best, or best suits you anyway. Once you've chosen that plan, normally what you then need to do is integrate it to your website. So depending on the platform, normally, this is a WordPress one. I would add a plugin. In this case, it's an OmniSend plugin. I'd just activate that on my WordPress website. I would copy the API key that they've provided to me, and then I would install that on the actual, these are screen recordings. I'll just install that or copy that API to the WordPress website, and just copy that. There's a button there, of course. Go to the website, and where I'll just go to the OmniSend plugin there, sorry, and click start, and then it's integrated. But your audio at times goes digital or goes in and out. Thanks for letting me know, Nikki. I didn't know that. So hopefully you can all hear me okay. Just don't know what else to do because I don't have a lot of things open. So I'm just going to, please, if you can please let me know if it becomes unhearable, or is it already not hearable? Is it okay, my audio, or? Might just push on. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to do really with my audio. In and out, it's not good. Okay, thank you for that. Let me just see if I can fix something here for you guys. Just bear with me. Here we go. Okay, I think I've fixed it. How's that? That should be much better now, hopefully. Thank you for that. I wouldn't have known otherwise. Thanks for that feedback. So hopefully you haven't missed too much now. I'm not sure why that was playing up, but anyway, so hopefully you've followed along so far. Anyway, the most important stuff's still to come anyway. Okay, so I was just talking about how you would activate your application, your email marketing platform. Thank you, Nikki, John, and everyone else. That's great. Yeah, so you would just integrate that. It's going to depend. Normally it's an app or a plugin, depending on the platform. You would just normally check that through the plugin, the app, the platform that you've decided to use. And then it would come back with a screen like this, which is basically, now let's get started. So it might be about setting up your first automation, or it could be about sending your first campaign, or setting up forms to start collecting your emails to build a list. Now, I'm just going to show you a couple of examples, starting with MailChimp here. So I'm not sure if any of you have MailChimp or not, but it's actually, it's the first all-in-one app, if you like, and it has that great free plan. So a lot of people do start with MailChimp, and it enables you to do a lot of things. So I would definitely, if you haven't considered this, maybe do consider it. So for example, it'll allow you to do a lot of different things. Send emails, for example. So, and there's templates that you can use. Customer journeys are the automations I spoke about before. I've got a problem with this one now. Sorry about that little square in my, not having a good day, sorry. But you can also do landing pages, set up sign up forms as well, surveys, multi-channel design, so different channels, Facebook. You can do different types of forms, whether it's embedded forms or pop-up forms, landing pages. You can even do your social media posting and advertising on certain platforms through MailChimp. So very, very sophisticated. On the other hand, you've got GetResponse, which is a fantastic tool, a little bit more expensive. So you can do the same sort of things as you can in MailChimp, but I'll just show you here. So you can create, for example, autoresponders, forms, campaigns. You can do full funnels, landing pages, or newsletters. There's also another menu up here which gives a bit more detail. So if you run webinars, for example, it allows you to set up and promote your webinars, push notifications, a range of different funnels that are preset, pre-built, ready to go. And we'll talk about those in a second. Landing pages, and a range of different forms and surveys you can use, as well as, like MailChimp, you can do certain paid ads and retargeting ads through GetResponse. It's also particularly good for e-commerce and products, for example, because it integrates fully with e-commerce stores. So very complete package.
Now, the other one I want to show you is just very, very quickly, just get response, by the way. It starts at $15 US per month, and then it goes up to about $49, depending on, that's at 1,000 in your subscriber list. So from there, it starts to build, depending on the features you want. This one is Send in Blue. You can see it's $0 for up to 300 emails a day, unlimited contacts. So pretty good, actually. But then it does start to grow as your email list builds. But, you know, that's 10,000. So once you're at 10,000, you're probably, you know, making good income from that particular mail list. And just showing you some of the features here. So pretty sophisticated little package. And I'll just show you one more, and that's MailerLite, which is, like I said, it's one of my favorites. Very, very good. So it's called MailerLite, but there isn't like a heavy version. There is only a light version. But very, very good. Just showing you this quickly. It does everything that you need. So those workflows and the automated targeting, selling products. Just show you the pricing very quickly. So for 1,000 subscribers, it's free, or it's $10, depending. $10 gives you a couple of other things like unlimited landing pages, and unlimited emails per month. So if landing pages are important, but as you can see, as your list grows, it doesn't grow too much. It's still quite an affordable package. So I would recommend having a look through here. It's got all the details, including things like integrations, which is very important. So I'll just show you that, for example, just some of the ones like Shopify and Woocommerce. But yeah, if you click on eCommerce here, you'll see there's a lot more than that. There's BigCommerce, Magento, Press to Shop, etc. So yeah, it's, like I said, very good package. No, so those features are all available. So this is the question to Linda, answer to Linda. Those features are all available on the free plan. The only, it's free, $0 for up to 1,000 subscribers, I think it is. And then you start paying, it's $10 as well if you want, say, a certain more, I think they give you one landing page, and there's a limit to 12,000 emails a month. If you want to go more than that, more landing pages or more emails, then you can pay $10 a month, and then it goes up from there. So very, very affordable little package. Okay, so what we've talked about there are the different platforms, and I think some of the ones I've talked about there are probably some of the main ones. Yeah, so yeah, I think MailerLite, I think, and MailChimp are pretty much similar. I just think MailerLite's a bit more sophisticated and clean, but essentially, and yeah, it gives you a bit more for your money as well, or for the free plan even. Okay, so the next thing you want to do, you've chosen the platform. Now what you need to do is start building a list, because it is the most important thing that you need to do. So there's a few ways you can do the list depending on your particular setup, for example. So do you have a store, a physical bricks and mortar store, for example, or do you see your customers face to face? Then you can actually ask them and just get their email address on the spot. And you'll find that if you do that, you'll get a lot of, or most people will say yes, no problem at all. The other way to do it, of course, is through an embedded form on your website. So a form on the home page somewhere, maybe 3/4 of the way down, or depends, it could be even higher up than that, but not hidden down in the footer, for example, and give them a reason to sign up to your email list. You know, is it just to be on the newsletter, just to receive a newsletter, or is there some other good reason that you can think of that people might want to exchange their email address for? The other way to do this is through pop-ups. So there's a lot of different pop-ups you can use, and you can use them in different situations on your website. So the first one might be a welcome pop-up, where you're welcoming new visitors to your website, for example. And, you know, you might want to offer them a discount, for example, in exchange for their email address, for example, or even free shipping, whatever the case may be. So it's a good win-win opportunity there. They might buy something from you on their first purchase, on their first visit, and you also get their email address for future marketing. The other one you might want to consider is an exit intent. I'm not so keen on these ones. This is where you're about to leave the website, and a pop-up will ask you to stay or leave your details in exchange for some, for some reason. And I think it needs to be a good reason, since you've already mentally sort of checked out from that page. But it is another one that you might want to consider. And the third would be like a promotional pop-up. So when they're in the middle of shopping, for example, you could offer some sort of promotion. I've got free shipping on here again, but it could be some other reason for doing that. Get the latest product releases in your inbox, for example. So that's another reason, and you could time that so it shows only when people are browsing their products. Certain social channels will allow you to build an email list as well, so you might want to consider that. There's also checkout. So when people are buying your product, you might want to, depending on your platform, it's going to be easier or harder depending, but some of the platforms allow you to add a subscribe at the checkout. So you can collect their email address at checkout and hopefully keep that checked, so they have to opt out rather than opt in. Certain email marketing platforms allow you to send notifications. So this is one, this is actually Klaviyo. Some of them do it, some of them don't. This is a back in stock notification. So this is where you might have a popular product that sells out, and they can leave their email address to be notified when it's back in stock. So once again, that's another win-win. They get to buy the product, you get a sale, and you can continue marketing to them. So this is why it is important to check out the different platforms that you might want to consider to see if they do offer some of those types of things. Loyalty and referral programs. So this is, this is fantastic for, also customers, the existing customers. So it's about retaining and maintaining those relationships. One of them might be through a loyalty or a referral program to get their email address to continue marketing to them. And then depending on your product, for example, do you have something like a lead magnet that you could offer in exchange for their email address? It could also be a sample or some sort of incentive for them to exchange their email address. And then finally, a discount or a deal. So, they're on your site. You might want to leave it until they're browsing your site and then offer them a discount in return for their email address or some sort of deal. So there's multiple different ways that you can collect email addresses, but the sooner you start, the sooner you're going to have, a decent email address, email list. So building a list, let's look at some of the things you'll need to do that. And those are forms, basically, the different ones I just mentioned. So this is Get Response. I'll just show you some of the ones they offer. And you just go to forms and surveys, which is where we are now. And you can create one or the other, create a form. And, once again, they make it very, very easy to do this. They're all pre-built templates and lots of different things that you can do here, depending on, what sort of template you want. Is it, a free download or an event sign up or newsletter sign up? And then you can choose the template you want and then customize that, of course, to suit your branding. Very easy to do that with your fonts and colors and logo and images, for example. So Facebook, all sorts of different ones, whether it's to order some particular product, sign up for an event. So definitely recommend having a look at some of those templates. On the other hand, this is MailChimp. So MailChimp, you get to those templates through the audience dashboard there, and you just go down to sign up forms, and they've got a bunch there. It's also quite sophisticated. Just like I said, they just don't have, like Get Response have all the bells and whistles. So whether it's a pop-up or an embedded form or a contact form, you can select the type that you want. So we'll just select one of those. Let's go for an embedded form here. And choose the type of form that you want. Now, even though it doesn't look as sophisticated as Get Response, you know, you can change it up the top there. So just showing you here, let's look at a condensed one. You can see it gives you that nice typical subscribe type form. And you can then just copy that and embed it in your website. Or if you've got the plugin like I showed you before, you can just integrate it that way. Sorry, Nikki, what do you mean by is best to go with instead of plugins? What do you mean by that? I think you might have missed a word there. So, yeah, so I would recommend using, I think if you're a beginner, you'd probably want to just use the plugin and then you can integrate the forms directly into the website. Now, plugin is a WordPress word, but we're talking about apps or integrations depending on your particular platform. Okay, so as you can see, lots of forms that are available through these email marketing platforms. So definitely have a look at those and see if they suit your particular needs. So once you've done that, you've started to build an email list. What do you do then? Well, this is where you need to, well, I'm going to suggest some things that you can do. And it's quite a simple approach, really. So it's getting your email list and segmenting that into smaller groups, essentially. And then what you do with those smaller groups is you send them content at the right time, the right type of content at the right time. And then you follow that up based on their action or lack of action. And we'll talk about that shortly, what this all means. But the reason why you might want to start to use segmentation at this point is because it's going to give you much better results in your marketing. It's more personalized, more specific to that particular segment's interests, for example. So you're just going to get better rates across the board, whether it's better open rates, you know, better conversions across the board. So it's definitely something you need to consider. Now, the way you do email marketing segmentation is based on a range of different parameters. It's really almost infinite. Well, not quite, but it could be based on, you've heard of abandoned carts. So that is a way of, so that segmentation, that segment would be people that have gone to buy something and then abandoned their cart. So that's pretty easy. But it could also be people that have purchased a particular product, people that live in a certain location, could be a persona, for example, a particular demographic or a particular type of customer, VIP customers, for example. So there's a range of different ways you can segment your audience. And like I said before, what it does is it allows you to do really personalized marketing down to the individual level. And like I said, it could be based on all of these things, all of these different criteria. So let's just look at an example of what I'm talking about here. So this is Klaviyo, and Klaviyo, similar to all of the other ones, they'll allow you to set up lists and then from those lists to be able to segment them. So a list would normally be from a CSV file or something like that, a spreadsheet, but you segment. So I'm going to create one here. We're just going to call it test. And then I'm going to define who comes into this, who falls into this segment. And you can do that in a number of ways, like I said here, so previously, but you know, it could be based on any number of these. I'm going to choose what someone has or has not done. And then I can choose a metric here. So there's some Klaviyo metrics. So from Klaviyo themselves, there's some third-party metrics, so forms and reviews, for example, or there's Shopify metrics. So I can choose something from Shopify here. And I'm going to choose ordered product. So anyone that has ordered a particular product, and I can choose how many times. So if I make this, say, a few times, say 3 times, overall time, then in my books, that makes these particular customers regular purchases, for example. I can choose the particular product here based on a range of different things as well. but I'm going to choose the product ID, for example. You can choose variations, but I'm just going to choose the product ID and put that in there. So now I've got a segment where when anyone purchases this particular product more than 3 times, they go into their own little segment. Now, I'm not going to go on any more here because I sort of get stuck in a bit too much detail here, but you could add to that the same sort of parameters. So that's segmentation. Now, once you've got some segments, you should then start to build some automations around those segments, but not just around those segments. It could be based on a range of other things as well. So let's have a look at some automations. Automations are triggered by 3 things. Just bear with me here. Hopefully it will make sense if it's not shortly, but automations are automated emails and they're triggered based on 3 things. The first thing would be one of 3. It could be one of those, any of those 3. So the first one would be something the visitor has done. So it's a behavior-based trigger. So this one is an example here where someone's abandoned the cart. Then you can automatically send an email to them or even an SMS, depending on your platform. And then depending on what they do with that email, follow them up. So hopefully they'll go back, finish their purchase, and then you've got a happy customer. So that's one. The second sort of automation would be based on the segment they're in. So people that have purchased a particular product might receive an email automatically, for example. High value customers, customers that have not done anything with you for a certain period, lapsed customers, a range of different parameters. And the third would be based on date. So for example, someone places an order, you could then wait a period and then ask them if they're ready for a restock or a refill. And based on what they do, you could then send them a follow-up email. All completely customizable. Once you've set this, it's set and forget to a degree. You then, once you've set the automation up, the emails are sent out automatically for you. So let's have a look at that as well. So this, once again, this is Klaviyo, and this is, they call their automations flows. MailChimp call them journeys, but they're the same sort of things. So this here is under their flows section. It shows you all the flows that you have set up. So there's a few set up here: abandoned cart, back in stock, customer thank you, customer win back, all sorts of different ones. But let's just look at some of the ones they have pre-built. So let's browse some ideas that they have. So these ones you just create, you can create one from scratch or just create their pre-built ones, depending on what you're trying to achieve, the type of email you want to send out and what your goal is. You would choose, you can filter them based on that or just browse the ones on the right. So abandoned cart, back in stock, customer win back, customer thank you, but also things like, shipping confirmation, for example, those transactional emails, delivery, thank you for purchasing, those types of emails are very important. So I'm just going to show you one here. This is browse abandonment, which is probably the most complicated one because not all platforms use this, but this is where someone's on your list and they're looking at a product, but they're not buying a product. You can then automatically, after a certain number of views, you can send them an email to say, hey, I see you've been looking at this product. Did you know other people bought this product? Or, you might, how about a 5% discount, for example? So there's a range of different things you can do. So it's fairly easy to set up these automations. Now, I just want to show you what at the other end of the scale, something like MailChimp has. So these are the pre-built automations within MailChimp. So, anything from, say, educate subscribers, that way it's what informational type educational emails about your product, for example, onboarding them, telling them how to use your product, for example, right through to, specific products they've purchased, best customers, VIP customers, for example, what they've done on your website. So a range of different things that they've set up as automations within MailChimp. Okay, So there's some of the things I think you should look at when you're looking at an email marketing platform, and some of the things you should do to get started. Now, I'm just going to talk about some emails here that you might want to particularly use. Sorry, I've got them in the wrong order here. So I'm going to show you all of these essentially. So the first one we're going to talk about are email marketing funnels. We'll go into what they are. Then we'll talk about a welcome email, just setting that up so you've got it done and dusted. And then maybe some retargeting emails that you can have set up as well. So email marketing funnels are basically a way of providing a journey, essentially, a marketing journey for your visitors, with the end objective basically for them to be converted. So converted to become a customer, a subscriber, a member, whatever your goal is essentially. So email marketing funnels are a combination of different things, but essentially this is what you want people to do. You want them to visit your landing page. So how they come across your landing page could be through email, but it could also be through an advertisement. It could be through SEO, where they found your website and they go to your landing page. A landing page is really the page they land at. So don't want to necessarily go into more detail than that about the landing page, but essentially they land on your landing page. The next stage would be to sign them up to an email list in return for some sort of incentive. The third stage might be to send them a welcome email explaining what you do and who you are. Following that, you would then send a series of emails promoting your products and your brand. This is a very simple example. They would then click on the links in your email and buy your products. It's also an ideal example. And then following that, they will continue to receive emails and updates on the related products. So that's essentially a funnel. And what it might look like is something like this. So you've got people coming in through whatever sources, organic and paid, to your landing page, then to your opt-in list, and then some of them are going to opt in, yes, and then you send them a series of emails based on that. So that's a very simple example of what a funnel could be, but they could be much more sophisticated than that. Now, what I'm getting at here is email marketing funnels basically provide, or email marketing platforms provide the tools that you need to build a funnel: marketing funnel, sales funnel, lead funnel. So let's talk about some of those things. So the first step might be a sign-up page, for example. There is a step before that, which is getting people to that sign-up page, but assuming that's outside of the scope that we're talking about here. So you need a page for them to land, a form for them to sign, or a sign-up page on that, a sign-up form on that page. If they don't sign up, maybe a pop-up to get them to sign up, follow-up emails, get them to a landing page or a sales page where they buy your product, an order form where they put in their order, or a checkout if you like, abandoned cart email if they abandon their cart, confirmation page, and a confirmation email. Now, depending on your product, it's going to be slightly different, but it should be something like that. Now, you probably have a website here as well. So, you know, a lot of these email marketing platforms will promote themselves as a website and e-commerce platform as well. And you can use it for that. But I'm assuming here you've got a website here that you're going to be using to sell your products and services. And you're going to use your email marketing for the other sections that we spoke about. So let's just briefly look at an email marketing funnel. So this is really where you're trying to, as opposed to say a sales funnel, where you're trying to, this is all about the email side, I guess I'm getting at here, which is about trying to build a list and promote your brand to that list. So the first stage is really that awareness or top of funnel stage. So what you need here are sign-up forms, you need pop-ups, and you need pages for people to land. Ideally, people talk about landing pages. Ideally, you want a landing page that's optimized for whatever campaign you're running. Thank you, Nikki. See ya. Thanks for joining. So that's goal number one. Goal number two, sorry, stage number two would be consideration. So this is where you're identifying pain points, providing comparisons to your customers, educational content, maybe inviting them to a webinar, providing testimonials and case studies, for example. The third stage is really that conversion stage. So if you're email marketing at that stage, it's all about your subject line and your calls to action, what incentives you're offering. Any personalization is really important at this stage, and maybe use some sort of urgency in your language to promote higher conversion rates. And then after they've become a customer, you've still got to, engage with them. And so you've got to nurture them and maintain them as a happy customer, because at the end of the day, you need reviews, you need testimonials, you need case studies, you need someone to advocate on and sell for you, essentially, recommend you to their peers and their friends and their business contacts. So at this stage, really, it's about regular emails. Maybe this is where you use your newsletter. New offers, for example, that they might not be aware of, upsells and cross-sells, and you might, introduce a reward and loyalty program here. Maybe introduce some sort of private group here. It could be a Facebook group, for example. And then the advocacy. So this is really all about reviews and testimonials, social media posts, and maybe some sort of affiliate program. So that's essentially the email marketing funnel. And at each stage here, you need to think about the content that you're going to send to your persona at each of these different stages. So that's where automation and those segmentation things come into play. I've just got a link down the bottom there to MailerLite, their blog page, and they've got this email marketing funnel information on their website, which is exactly this information I'm showing you here. It's much more than I can talk about here, and I just recommend that if you do get the chance to go into a bit more detail there. Now, I'm just going to show you how some of these platforms address email marketing funnels, particularly GetResponse. I think they do a very good job. So if you click on conversion funnels there, they give you a few different options, and they're all pre-built. So it makes it very easy for someone that's not very technical to do this quite easily. So you can just do three things essentially: grow your list, sell products, or create awareness, essentially. So click on create funnel. And they'll give you different options depending on the funnel you want to build. So for example, build a list, there's a lead magnet and just a standard opt-in funnel, for example. If you want to sell products, they give you a full or a quick sales funnel, a longer one or a shorter one. And then they have a webinar sales funnel, which you could also use for other things other than webinars. So free and paid webinars. So let's have a look at one of these and have a quick look at one of these. So we'll click create standard opt-in there, enter a name for the funnel. And as you can see, it's all, so in this case, they want you to use all of their particular pages, but you can use your own custom page on your own website as well. So you don't need to build landing pages if you don't want to, but it really depends on what you want to do. But as you can see, it's relatively straightforward. So depending on your particular industry, service, for example, you can choose the template and then customize it to suit your particular need. I'll just show you a bit more in here. Sorry, it's the same one I was showing you before. So yeah, I'll just go back a bit there. Yeah, so as you can see, it's relatively easy. It allows you to create the sign-up page, build the forms that you need to create email addresses, to collect email addresses, choose the templates that you want. And then as you can see, when you choose the landing page, they also provide a thank you pages, and you can completely customize that. So I'm not going to go into any more detail, but maybe just to think about email marketing funnels and how that suits your particular business and your particular brand. Now, some other emails you might want to consider. So a welcome email is really very important. So this is once someone signs up to your email list, you need to basically send them an email to say thank you for that. So, and it should be a sequence of emails, so a flow basically. And that flow allows you to do a range of different things. So you can introduce your products, you can introduce your social channels, you can introduce any promotions that you might have. It's very easy to automate, and it would look something like this. So someone signs up to, I've got newsletter here, but it would be a particular list, for example. Thanks for signing up. Wait for a few days. Send them a second email about social media channels and following us on social media. Wait a few days. Send them an email about your best-selling products. And then depending on what you want to do after that, it might be the end of your welcome series, and then you follow that with a range of other emails. So a welcome email, I would definitely recommend that. That's probably the first one that you need to set up. This is just showing you how you would do that in MailChimp, for example. Just go to customer journeys, start creating. And they have some pre-built ones like most of the other ones do. A little bit slow. So they 4 different types there. I'm just going to scroll down. As you can see, the very first pre-built one they've got is welcome new contacts. Pretty similar, so I won't go into the detail there, but I definitely recommend setting up a welcome email as the first email to welcome people to your email list. The second most important one is an abandoned cart email. Now, 60 to 70% of people are going to abandon your cart if you do have a cart on your website. So it is really important. That's the industry average. I've seen much higher, I've seen lower, but you do want to use this because it will bring some of them back, and it's about reducing that as much as you can rather than, wiping out abandoned carts completely. So Klaviyo, once again, just using this as an example, so if you were just to use that pre-built setup, the customer would receive an automated email, and it's a good opportunity to upsell, cross-sell, add some reviews about that particular product, so they do work, and you will get a percentage of people come back. Customer win back, for example. So someone that's lapsed, yet they're not opening your emails, they're not visiting your website anymore. You can send them maybe even an incentive to come back and to start shopping on your site again. Retargeting. So retargeting on Facebook. So this is, and on Google essentially, or any other platform where you can build a custom audience. So this is about people that have done something on your website, you've built a particular segment around that. So it could be people that have purchased a particular product, viewed a particular product, VIPs, a range of different ones. It could also be, people that have lapsed. Could be, just go back from lookalike audiences, but could be customers that have lapsed, or it could be a list of emails that you don't have approval to send an email to because they haven't given you approval to do marketing to them. With Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, you can do custom audiences where you import a CSV file, people's email addresses, and you can do indirect targeting through Facebook and those other channels I spoke about. You can also export a list into Facebook and Google, for example, and build a lookalike audience based on that. Could be your VIP customers or something like that, where you build a lookalike audience. It's very easy to do within either the email marketing platform or through the integration on your website or through the social channel themselves. very easy to do. So I'm going to skip through this, but I have mentioned this already. It is a good idea to use the templates that a lot of these organizations provide. They're pretty sophisticated and, will address most people's needs. So I definitely recommend using those where possible. Just very quickly, important, how do you measure your email marketing performance? There's a few different measurements, and most email marketing platforms will provide you analytics. And you do need to keep an eye on those, and particularly these 4, because they show some things that are important. So for example, the delivery rate, that's how many are getting to the inbox. It should be in the high 90%, mid to high 90%, because that shows that you've got a clean email list, and therefore it's getting into email boxes. Open rate. So the industry average is 31%. It should be in or around that level. And what this is indicating is interest in your brand. So, you might not get the same 30% of people opening it every time, but it should be in that order. The click rate. So this indicates interest in what you're saying in your email. So your subject line, your headline, for example, subject matter. 5% is the industry average. So you want to get in or around that level with your click rate. And then your conversion rate is where they're clicking on your email links, your calls to action. And that's 2 to 5%. So this indicates action being taken on your message. So, these are the sort of metrics you should be around. And if you're not, there are a lot of ways that you can improve them. This is an email marketing document from HubSpot. I do include it in my resources at the end of this, and it just talks about ways that you can improve some of those. So those different rates just by different tips that they give. So definitely have a look at that. Now, just importantly, the regulations you need to conform to. So there's the spam regulations, there's GDPR, it's basically privacy regulations that are global now, and you do need to obviously take them into account. If you don't, you'll be blacklisted, and you'll find it very difficult to eventually get either an email provider to allow you to open an account with them, or you'll just have very poor delivery rates and those other metrics I spoke about before. And they'll get worse if you don't fix that. So that's the first thing. Make sure that they've opted in, and make sure they can opt out very easily or unsubscribe. So you do need to have a clear unsubscribe information on your email marketing. A lot of people don't know this, but you do also need to clearly have your street or a physical address on your email marketing as well. You should be using your domain. So I did mention that earlier. Rather than a third-party domain, it should be the domain of the website that you're trying to send people to. Oops, what did I do then? Also, don't buy lists. So, if you're buying a list from someone, you don't have their permission to send them emails. So it's going to backfire at the end of the day. So definitely don't buy lists. That's basically it from me. Thank you very much. Just in the nick of time too. If you have any questions, happy to try and answer them now. There's also a link there that you can download resources from this particular webinar, including this presentation and some of the other resources I mentioned. There's also my email address there. So if you want to jot that down, if you have any email marketing questions, I'm happy to try and answer those. Also, apologies for the sound audio issues at the beginning of this webinar. Hopefully they resolved themselves. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave that up there for the time being, let you just copy that down. And thank you very much for joining me today. I do appreciate that. Now, I am going to just take the opportunity. You might have noticed the Australian Small Business Advisory Service there, logo. Like I said, I'm from Business Station, and we deliver that program on behalf of the federal government in Queensland, Northern Territory and WA. So you get 7 hours of personalised business mentorship for only $44. So if you are interested, those 4 areas, social media, digital marketing, websites and selling online, online security and data privacy, and using business software, all you need to do is go to businessstation.com.au or visit that link there, businessstation.link/register, to find out if you're eligible or if you'd like to register. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. There's that link there.